First of all, I bloody love the Gears of War series. From its gruff, gravelly machismo to its cover-based shooting and its chainsaw guns. Honestly, I'm yet to see a legitimate criticism of that series that would damn its quality entirely. Outside of a demographic of cream puff girly men who cower in the sight of anything tough and excessively manly. And honestly, Gears of War 2 would probably fall into my top 10 games of all time. But that is not the point here. The point is that under all the macho nonsense is the Gears of War story. And the deeper you look, the better it gets. Gears of War hides, however, a rather disturbing, perhaps politically charged message. Not a Seth MacFarlane, oh look at me and my liberal ideas political message, but a wholly three-dimensional South Park political message. The Gears of War mythos starts with humanity, in a similar state to where we are now, discovering a superfuel called emotion. Emotion burns mostly clean, can be used in a multitude of different ways, and is quite abundant. When the Gears of War world, Sarah, adopts emotion as a primary energy source, they make a critical mistake. The world falls apart as the economy goes haywire. The thousands employed in traditional fuel-based industries, communities based around mining and refining, suddenly find themselves out of work and embroiled in poverty. The backlash is brutal. And soon the world finds itself entrenched in a vicious war for resources. Here is where the IMO starts. At first glance, one might be forgiven for thinking emotion is an analogy for oil, considering the warfare that has come as a consequence of the acquisition of oil, but I would disagree. Emotion is instead an analogy for green energy. And Gears of War is a warning of what would happen if we adopted green energy too fast. If, in our self-righteous moralistic agenda, we abandon fossil fuels in favour of wind, solar, geothermal, the economic backlash would be enormous. To elaborate, allow me to paint you a picture. We remove oil. First the oil teams are out of a job, and the towns built around them are crippled. Then the oil tankers would go, along with a hefty strike to docking communities. Petrol stations would also be dealt a telling blow. The same applies to every form of fossil fuel. Mining communities cut down. Any manufacturer who produces goods based around them. The change would be too sudden. Even those who could adapt would not be needed in so great a number. You want a real-life example? Just look at the town that produced me, Stoke-on-Trent. Once we were a linchpin of industry. Now we're just a ghost town. To conclude, I am not anti-renewable energy. I am entirely pro-renewable energy. As a historian, I wholly believe it'll be the next step in human advancement. But if Gears of War mirrors anything, it would be the potential backlash of our own noble zealotry. To put it another way, what good is a world where we live in harmony with nature when that world is torn apart by economically aggravated warfare? This has been my opinion, and I hope to see you all again soon.